My original, we're live?
Yes, sir.
Okay. My original Cobra book and compare it to the new ones.
The one I got is the 83 version.
83? Some of the ones that they're getting are just reprinted. He's got like a grandson-in-law that's doing this stuff in California.
Okay.
I wonder if he's rewritten some of that stuff.
I'm gonna get one of those.
I'll give a look at my original. We'll compare it to it. Good evening, folks.
Afternoon.
Mr. Scott's back, so you know things are right with the world.
Made it back.
Made it back, yep. Been gone a long trip to Siberia.
Yep. Now I stopped in Fiji.
Stopped in Fiji.
So.
The hula girls didn't want him, so he came on home.
Not much of a choice there.
So, anyway, we hope we got our usual group. We're going to discuss a little bit about fighting styles. Because what a lot of people don't realize, we know that dogs have their instincts, right?
Yep.
And so, like a border collie will get out and want to nip heels automatically. And so, dogs' fighting styles are the same way, right?
Yes.
So, we have three main groups that have done protection training. And for all, I hate to tell all you herding Malinois fans, but the original guard dogs were Mastiffs.
Yep, they were. Back quite a few years too.
Yeah.
2000.
Yeah. You got your mic? Okay, we're on. So after that, the next dog type of breed that was used for destroying things or watching garden at night were not the German Shepherd, not the Malinois. Nope. We're talking 1600s, 1700s. The terrier groups. Airedale Terriers in the Dale of Ayr, which is how they were named, and all the terrier. England contributed a lot of breeds, dog breeds. We always think about Germany, but England's contributed a lot of dogs to us. And but the terriers were used to guard the farmyard and to kill varmints. That's why the pit bull terrier became the number one fighting dog for fighting. Okay, now we got two little subgroups. Those are the two main groups, and then you have the herding dogs: German Shepherds, Malinois, Belgian Shepherds, whatever you want to call them. But we got two subgroups we're going to include in this. That's the Bulldogs, because they're not quite Mastiffs, and they're definitely not a terrier, but the English sort of put the two together to get good Bulldogs.
Yep. And
we have one other little subgroup. It's a pretty small group Scott's familiar with. We call it the Doberman Pinscher.
Small group.
And they all have their own little unique fighting styles.
Yep. They sure do. They're categorized broadly, but pinschers have different styles of fighting too.
Yeah.
I mean, just different things. So anyway.
And there's I've seen some varying thoughts about this, but a Pinscher in German actually means terrier. It's a terrier means an earth dog, terra firma in Latin. And these were the varmints that went and killed drug the badgers out of the holes and killed the moles in the feed bin and the rats and all that sort of stuff. So
because there is also a German terrier.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like it's a half-size version of they're built quite the same. In my opinion, there is German Terrier in the Doberman Pinscher breed.
Yeah, it probably is.
No one knows when Mr.
You know what? I think you're the first one to ever say that.
Just for the back lines and the legs. You know.
And coloring too, if I remember right.
Yeah, the coloring's close.
Yeah.
It's like a Bordeaux too.
I wonder if Mr. Louis Doberman was such a genius by putting all these breeds together that everyone guesses at, or if he just bred up a bunch of German Pinschers or German Terriers to make them taller and taller.
Because I see Greyhound. I see a bit of Dane in it. You know,
more than likely, yeah.
You know, the feet and everything else, and the way temperament. I've never had a German Terrier or a dog like that, but and it's been refined over the years, but basically,
it's a terrier.
Terrier.
So, how do different dogs fight? And what has that got to do with your personal protection dog? So if we you know, if you watch this, but you know, I like to go back in history and find what dogs' original jobs were, and we use that to sort of define what we want to use them for today and what advantages those original jobs give them. So if you go back, let's take the Mastiffs first. Romans loved Mastiffs, you know. They started with their Neapolitan Mastiffs.
Right.
And they were big until they invaded England and found the English Mastiff, which was
They wanted.
Yeah. And
War dogs.
War dogs, and that's what they brought back, and that's when the Roman army became the well, it was already a power in the world, but it really got to be amazing. I think 760 something AD.
Yeah, I see a phalanx coming at you, and all of a sudden opens up, there's 50 dogs coming at you.
Yeah.
I'd be going that way.
Yeah. Especially when they're all outweighing you.
Yeah.
You know.
And I'm running you too.
Right. Yeah. And you got to remember, we're a lot taller today than we were back then, so them dogs were really freaking big.
Everybody's about 4'6".
Yeah. What you got, Carol Ann?
Linda Snyder just says hi, everybody. Nice to see familiar folks back.
Hey, Linda. Let's see.
So let's go the way the Roman army fought. What made it the juggernaut that it was in those days? Because in those days, armies just lined up and went toe to toe, right?
That's it. Yep.
Pretty much. So the standard form for any of the big armies was archers, cavalry, infantry, foot soldiers. So the archers would, if you had enough, Persians didn't use archers that much, I don't think, but the Romans used them extensively. Mm-hmm. They used the archers like we use artillery, boom, to shoot over and soften up the enemy, right? Well, they start shooting at each other, and then the cavalry would charge in, and the goal was to get in to the infantry and start, chopping their heads off while they're horseback. So what the Romans came up with was a real simple plan. They had their archers, because the archers were in the back. They were behind everybody, and they're shooting over everyone, just thousands of arrows over into the enemy. And the cavalry would run out there and charge each other. They're both trying to get the jump on the other one. So this one, I think it was Leonidas, I can't remember for sure, one Roman general who first came up with the idea thought, big dogs, horses don't like big dogs. So he had an army of a kennel of about 75 to 100 Mastiffs. And when the enemy cavalry came at him, he had them turn those dogs loose. And they went in amongst those horses, and it was havoc. The horses were, you can imagine, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
that's sopping them up real good there.
Yeah. And what these dogs did, probably naturally, maybe they were trained, there's no way to know. They'd run in and they'd catch these soldiers by their stirrups, jerk them off their horses. Some of them would attack the horses, whatever. But their whole fighting style consisted of stopping a man from hitting them, and they could do this by grabbing them and pulling them off balance.
Boom.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then when the infantry came in, they could do the same thing. They'd hit them on their big old shields, knock them down, stand over them, and then pull them back. So if you look, if you find anybody who's training protection dogs, that's training Mastiffs besides me and maybe two other people that I know of, the Mastiffs we train, band dogs, Lee Robinson, hey Lee, the band dogs, which are half Mastiff, half Pit, they all have this tendency to bite and drag. So in the guard dog business, we take advantage of that fighting tendency.
And band dogs, they are. But I read that they have about 950 pounds per square inch of power, and when they grab something, and they're not as big as a Mastiff, they're in between. Their leverage is so good, their power so powerful. If they grab it, you're coming. There's no.
Oh yeah, yeah.
There's none of there's no shaking or nothing. You're coming off the ground.
Right. So what about the shaking? There's no shaking or nothing. You just heard it right out of his mouth. Remember, these band dogs are a Mastiff Pit mix. And the pit bull, we don't think about it, but it's a pit bull terrier. right? Just like a Jack Russell, just like a Airedale. You know, they're all terriers. And their main job was killing varmints in the barnyard. And if you're not that big and you're trying to whoop a badger, what better way to do it than grab him by the back of the neck or his back, pick him up in the air and shake him until you're breaking all those bones.
That's it.
So the terriers that were successful in their job and lived to make more terriers for the farmer were the dogs that were good at picking stuff up and shaking the snot out of it till they killed it. That's how evolution works.
Yes.
That's how we all get our habits that are we call instincts.
So with telling you guys about all this different fighting styles, and to me that helps someone pick what dog is right for them too, though. You know, aside from temperament, size, but I highly suggest that you, before anybody gets a dog, that you go ahead and you research dogs, not because it's pretty and not because it's big or what dog, if you get protection dog, what purpose do you need that dog for?
Right.
So,
Right.
just you know, my opinion, but
Right. So, and that Scott's exactly right. There's different reasons for putting different breeds in certain positions. The Great Dane is a Mastiff,
yep.
you know, and in the turn of the century, it's the national dog of Germany, by the way, not the German Shepherd. A lot of people don't realize that. And Bismarck, who kind of made modern Germany what it is today, he always had two Great Danes beside him. He never used a bodyguard. He said he didn't need them with two Great Danes, you know.
I believe him.
Yeah. But,
Troy said great points, Scott.
Thank you.
and they were, the Dane was an estate dog. It would be turned out on the Lord Master's estate, and he was on his own, Jack. A dog that's on his own needs this sort of power and size. He also needs to grab somebody, jerk them off their feet, and make them helpless to fight back. So a Mastiff style, in my guard dog business, I had a lot of Rotties who fight the same type of bite and pull. The dogs are on that site by themselves all night long. If they get somebody and he takes offense because they poked holes in his body, which most people get kind of offended, I need that dog to stay safe, and Mastiffs were really great for that. But if you're going on patrol, you don't have to worry so much about that. This is where, say, in big labor strikes or prison riots, things of this nature, you're wanting a dog who will just disable somebody immediately and then go on to the next guy who may be trying, like in a prison riot, to get you. And there's where your terrier style of shaking comes along. So they'll grab somebody by their arm, shake them till their eyeballs are bouncing like pinballs in a machine, if anybody knows what pinballs are these days. And bing bing, yeah. We dated ourselves. And then go on to the next guy who happens to be stupid enough to try the dog. So where does that leave the herding dogs? Where does that leave the Malinois? Where does that leave the German Shepherd? They're kind of a hybrid. They're not as reactive. Well, a Mal's totally reactive, but they still think about it a little bit. I've got shepherds that we've trained over the years who just kind of instinctively start shaking. And of course, we train all of our dogs to bite and pull back. We don't want them going into the decoy. That's just setting it in real life. That's setting a dog up to have someone reach up, grab his collar, choke him to death. So we want our dogs to take a man and pull him back. So our bigger shepherds, we can manipulate through training because they're thinkers. Both the Mals, the Dutchies, German Shepherds, we can teach them to vary their fighting style easier than either the Mastiff or the Terrier. So that's one of the good things. Hey, champ, what are you doing, lady? You been sleeping? You been working? You got a dog out there? Nope. Come over here and say hello to your Scott, to your dad. We're gonna put you on the camera. You got something going?
You want a chair?
Just gonna sit there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Come here.
All right.
So we can take our German Shepherds. Now let's take the Bulldogs. Bulldogs have one unique habit when they fight, and I truly believe it comes from when they were catching bulls and bull baiting in England. There's a video out of me on YouTube, and it's old, folks, and it was taken from like a video VHS camera, so it's not, the quality ain't good, and it's been up a long time. I don't know if I can even find it, but it's of a bulldog named Mullins Bubba, and this was, in his day, he was the war horse of all American bulldogs. He's got babies in every country around, right? And Richard Mullins, who was the breeder, I would go out and train dogs for him, and he'd video the bite work himself. Bubba did something I'd never had happen to me. We went out, we worked him a time or two on a leash, and he's a mature bulldog, and he gets PO'd real easy. So he did a little bite on the sleeve, and I said, Richard said, I want to make him look cool. Can you do him in a suit? And I said, sure. He said, can you do a runaway? And I said, sure, And Bubba's weighing about 115 at the time. Big old boy. So I went, nah, and he got mad, and I turned and took off at a trot, and he launches. Now, everyone will tell you, if you're catching these males that are so prevalent today, or the shepherds, when the dog hits, you absorb it and you spin around and put them on the ground, right? Mm-hmm. So you use their momentum to bring you around and keep you from falling on your face. If they hit you and you stand still, their momentum's gonna knock you down. But they're always gonna hit and drive you forward. So Bubba, who's running only 15 feet, launches, hits me in the back of the shoulder, and next thing I know, I'm looking, I can see my feet up in the air.
Oh, he flipped you?
Because he jerked me backwards.
Oh.
Yeah. And I got up, and Richard says, wow, that was cool. I said, do that again. He can't do that a second time. I was just slow. I didn't turn quick enough. Right? Guess what?
Same.
He did it again. Boom, there's my feet up in the air. And this time, if you ever get a chance to see the video, this time to show you what real dogs are like, he turns loose. Oh, he's on this shoulder right here, if I remember right. He turns loose, and you can see him. Richard did a slow-mo of it. He looks up, he sees my head, and he opens his mouth, and he goes right for the skull. It was exciting. I won't tell you the end. Maybe you go look it up yourself. I'll try and find it. But I studied those videos for weeks and weeks and weeks. And I saw that when he launched, when he hit, instead of hitting and driving through, his rear end would swing forward. I couldn't figure that out. Slow-mo, slow-mo, slow-mo. And then I went hog hunting, and I watched the catch dog hit some hogs, hit some boars. And I noticed when they hit that boar initially, they grab him by the ear on a good hit, and they kind of hit, plant, and just jerk real hard. So then when I went back and looked at Bubba, I realized what bulldogs are doing to stay alive is they're hitting, probably in the 1600s, they're hitting a bull, grabbing him by the nose, and as they throw their head back, their body swings under, and that pulls whatever they're grabbing straight their way. And in this case, it drags a man back on his back with his feet up in the air. So bulldogs have a unique way.
It's almost like a defensive style to protect themselves.
Yeah. And probably because
if the bull would have got you, you're done anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So let's take the last subgroup, which is the Doberman. Scott's a Doberman owner, right?
Yes, I am.
Doberman lover, right?
I love Dobermans.
Want a bunch of them, right?
A dozen wouldn't be enough. Honestly, I'm serious.
I know you are. I know you are.
Yeah.
So Here's the rule about Dobermans, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. You've sure enough seen enough of it. There ain't no figuring out what a Doberman's gonna do. They're just gonna do what the Doberman gonna do.
No, you don't. He's always thinking. And to me, the way he is or they are, they're opportunistic.
Mm-hmm.
They'll watch repetition. You can repeat twice on a dog, and you ain't gonna do the third time with a Doberman. You ain't.
Good way to put it.
But also I've seen two different styles with them, fighting styles. I've seen one where they're actually like a Mastiff, where they'll pull, and different situation, the dog starts to dodge. He'll pull you where he wants you to go.
Good point. Yeah, that's a great point. Because that's one of the fighting. You know, we call it canine martial arts and canine pro sports. We have 3 different styles of that we teach the dogs. The drag, where they pull you back for the bigger dogs. A rebite, where if you go to hit them, they'll turn loose and rebite the second arm. But then generally for smaller dogs, those Scots dog, but he's a Doberman, so you can't make a rule book.
Yeah, he's not that big though.
When he sees somebody fixing to go to hit him, that big ox just
Good move.
so they literally adjust their thinking while they're fighting.
Also, like you said, rebite. I've seen him, and I've seen a few other ones on the sleeve, and someone come up to move their arm, he'll launch and boom, come back in here. Leg bite to arm to whatever's moving towards him.
Right, and that's no retraining. That was his natural.
Yeah, because they had him on the sleeve, and the guy come over like this, and that dog just blocked his arm. If you had a brick or anything else, he was done.
Yep.
It was like a defense. I'm rebiting to. But I read some of your work and on the rebites too. So you're a dog like that, coming up and you bite your arm here. All your nerves and tendons are gone.
Yep.
You come back with this hand here, he's gonna get you over here. This arm ain't doing shit. Oh, excuse me, ain't doing nothing.
Yeah.
So you're immobilizing people.
Right.
To the ground, so.
That's it. Yeah, you're sitting there with fingers that are doing this.
We got a question from
Yeah.
a second one. He says, what's the difficulty training Dobermans? You gotta outsmart them.
You just gotta have patience with them, and you gotta keep them occupied. They are you can't take a day off with a Doberman. You can't put them in the backyard and leave them there. You gotta work them every day. You gotta run them. You gotta keep them new games. Keep them mind occupied. Butch always says a tired dog is a good dog. But it takes a little bit of finesse too, though. But
Yeah, it does.
yeah, learn the dog. Get him to trust you, like he's your brother, and learn his tendencies. Learn to read his face. I mean, there's so many things. But the initial 6 months, you have a raptor on your hands. Puppies. But the more mature the dog gets, like mine's 2 now. He's still a pup, but he's not a pup. He's very obedient. He loves to play a lot. But I've answered your question or not, but they're not for everybody. I mean, if you got a family of a bunch of kids and everything else, you don't have to have time. They're good with children, don't get me wrong, but if you don't have time for that dog, it'd be like a Mal's the same way. There's certain dogs you shouldn't get if you can't spend the time for the dog, and they'll chew your furniture. Well, the dog's always chewing my furniture. Well, yeah, the dog needs what do you call that? Stimulation.
Yeah.
It needs stimulation all the time. But
Yeah. And Dobies are they're thinkers. That's. I don't know if I should say this. It may not be politically correct, but I'll mention it and wait for the comments. In World War II, when America started its first canine corps, other countries have been using dogs for for a while, but the Marine Corps decided they wanted to do nothing but Dobermans and the devil dogs, and they were a major factor in their taking of Iwo Jima.
Yeah, in the Japanese theater, yes, they were.
Yes,
big time.
Right. And then, but after World War II, it got to where the Marine Corps went ahead and started using shepherds like everybody else, because the biggest problem that they had was the Dobermans that they had in their Marine Corps program were usually smarter than
That's
the Marines that were handling them, so they had to go to a dog that wasn't so smart.
No, that's true, Butch. It's not just the Marines. You have to change things up with them.
That's right.
like I said, you can do certain things a couple times, you got it.
Yep.
You got to change everything up. So
Yep. So,
We have a question.
what do we got? We're gonna do one question here, folks.
Okay. I don't know if I want to say this dog's name right. It says how do Dobermans
Dobermans.
compare to Malinois?
Same dog.
Okay.
So let me explain. In Holland, they don't. America is intensely breed conscious. Well, Germany is too, but they have a right to be because they're doing it right. But we are more particular with our labels. I guess that's it. We're label conscious. Because if you've got a different label than the guy next door, you can sell something that he ain't got, even though he's got the same thing, right? Change the label. So in Holland, and somebody's going to write in and tell me what a dumbass I am, pardon my language, but I don't remember the way they label them. But a Malinois is a slick-haired Belgian Shepherd. A Tavern is a long-haired Belgian Shepherd. And a Grenadale is a different colored Belgian Shepherd. They're all Belgian Shepherds types, but their coat can be different.
And why is that? Different areas, mountains?
Yeah, right.
That's what I read. That they were bred for different areas.
Right, of the country.
Of the
Right,
country.
right. And the KNPV, which is the world's greatest police dog training organization, they have one standard that they breed to. That's performance. They don't give a cotton pick about long hair, short hair, big head, little head.
No matter.
They want dogs that do the job because they're supplying probably the dog that killed Osama bin Laden probably goes back to Holland. They're supplying the best of the best to the world. They probably supply, I'd say, between 60 and 70% of all American police dogs. And all they care about is performance. So if they get a long-haired dog, it's, he's a Tavern. That indicates his coat. Other than that, there's very little difference, except that the Tavern and the Grenadale are not as popular, not as well known, especially in America. Therefore, they may be a little bit better quality than the ones the American Malinois are being made. So that's the only one we got there, Carol Ann? Carol Ann's back, by the way, folks.
Yes, I'm back.
She's back. So, what day, Mr. Scott?
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that. And like I said a while ago, you want a dog for protection, research your dog.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just,
I'm
a big
one comment on the Western Shepherd, however, because we have a Doberman and we have the Western Shepherd. And for me, having a family with kids, I would choose the Western Shepherd for my family. My Doberman, super great with me, love him to death.
I know what's coming.
Not with kids.
Yeah, I know what's coming. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
She had to get it in, a little
I had to
jab.
get it in there.
It's all right.
Yeah,
But
so-
my Western Shepherd is he's fantastic. Super
Well,
fantastic. With my family, guarding, with Aramina, I trust him full on, 110%.
The only thing I'll say about that is I don't know that much about the Western Shepherd, but I can say that the few I've seen have been pretty close to perfect. I don't know what else to tell you.
Preach, Bush, preach.
So. Good night, folks. Y'all
Good night,
have a
y'all.
ball. See you next week.